Hello and welcome to This Is, the biggest gaming company in the world that you all love.
Microsoft?
No, the other
Sony?
one. The other one.
Activision?
The other one. Well, they own part of Activision.
Blizzard?
They own part of Blizzard.
Apple?
I'm sure they'll own part of Apple soon.
Epic?
Tencent.
Oh,
I could have kept
actually,
going.
yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, Epic. Yeah. So, Logitech and Tencent have announced that they are partnering together to create a cloud-based gaming system. And that's really all we know about this at the moment.
Is it Logitech, Logi, or Logicool?
But
Logicool is the best one. I'm just saying.
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So Logitech in different regions have different brand names.
Oh, okay. So in Japan, it's Logicool.
Logicool. Then there's Logitech, which is in, I think, the US. And then I think there's just Logi. As this is head of streaming news aficionado.
Yep.
You got the Steam Deck in one hand.
Yep.
You got your theoretical Xbox streaming stick in the other.
I'm building that. Don't worry about it.
Tell me about this. Okay, so Tencent, obviously
Here's
a
the
massive
fact.
company.
We don't know. They just said, hey, we're doing this.
Okay.
And it's going to work with multiple streaming platforms. That's the whole news article.
So the stick, the Logicool stick, I'm just gonna call it the
Logicool stick.
This is going to have multiple streaming apps running on it. Theoretically, you could load GeForce Now, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever the case is.
The two that we can safely infer is Game Pass. We can safely infer that because Tencent and Logitech have already said, hey, we're working with Microsoft on something
Makes
like this.
sense. They're loading it on TVs and everything they can get their hands on. Okay, got it.
Same with Nvidia.
Right, they're creating a streaming stick.
You keep saying stick, and I find that interesting. Because they haven't mentioned whether it's going to be a stick, whether it's going to be like a little console, like the old PlayStation TV.
To me, a couple of takeaways. So first of all, it makes sense that Tencent is a massive gaming company. Now,
the largest in the world.
If you're not familiar with Tencent, you really should be, because Tencent owns a huge amount of games studios. Now, a lot of people associate Tencent with a lot of free-to-play mobile games, which is absolutely a way that they make a lot of money. But they also own a very large stake in things such as Epic,
Fortnite, maybe you've heard of it.
Unreal Engine,
Riot, which I believe they own outright. They own a big chunk of Ubisoft. They own a big chunk of Bluehole, which makes PUBG. They own Supercell, which pretty much any mobile game that you can think of that makes money.
Clash of Clans.
They did not come out and say we're making our own console. They did not say we're making our own PC.
Do they have any cloud infrastructure? Because the way I understand Tencent, they typically
depends on how you want to look at it.
Okay.
Because the infrastructure that they have spent the last decade building is all been internet cafes in China. So they have specifically gone out of their way over the last about 10 years now to bolster as much of the internet cafe market in China as they can. They've teamed up with Tim Hortons.
What?
It's a Tim Hortons.
You Canadians are holding out on us. You gotta share.
It's Tim Hortons themed esports internet cafe. And the reason they've been doing this is because a lot of people in China are still using internet cafes to game. They were dwindling for a while, and about in 2013, they really started to pump all this money into opening up new cafes. At one point, they were doing 20 million active users in these internet cafes.
A lot of people.
The vast majority were playing two games.
Wait, let me guess. League?
Yep.
And Dota?
Dota was a big one.
Okay.
Crossfire. This is the definition of vertical integration.
Yeah.
Tencent opens up internet cafe.
Yep.
People rent 10 cents PC to play
Tencent games.
10 cent game.
To spend money on 10 cent microtransactions?
Yes. And then they refresh themselves with 10 cent beverages.
If only they were drinking delicious Boss coffee available at Boss Coffee's website.
They haven't sponsored us yet.
And Matt, if you spend all this time talking about cloud gaming, I can try to show for future sponsors. Hang on.
You're gonna
register Austin.
We're in the middle of a video. Don't register a domain.
SponsorAustin.com. Oh my God, such a good idea. I now own SponsorAustin.com. Go to SponsorAustin.com for all the information you need on how to get your fine beverage, food, or other various tchotchkes. If you have an idea that's not lttstore.com, please reach out at SponsorAustin.com. Continue. What were you saying about cloud gaming or something?
A teeny tiny thing in the world has thrown a big wrench in
A big wrench?
Tencent's internet cafe plans.
Wait, can I take a guess?
Yeah.
Is it the COVID?
That's not the only thing. There's a lot of things that have caused another decline in internet cafe sales. First one is the vid. Hashtag the vid. Obviously, COVID was a big thing for it.
Especially in China.
But apparently their 5G infrastructure is very good, as we did a little research while we were filming.
Kenzie looked it up and said,
I didn't.
China 5G good.
This is just a prop. It's not actually real. But then PC parts in general are, like, it's easier to get your hands on a PC in China than it ever was. People don't really need internet cafes nearly as much as they used to. It's still, like, a cool place to hang out. Now, Tencent's like, well, their whole thing has been all these free-to-play games that they're making all this money on. Yeah, if they're playing a free-to-play game, but they're still playing it on our computer, our microtransaction, whatever. They still need to have those players come back and play their games. Well, if people can't afford a console to be imported into China, because every time we do a video on a PC or a console, everyone's like, because of import taxes and everything like that, this console suddenly triple the price.
Well, because in a lot of areas, a computer is taxed differently because a computer can be used for other things, whereas a gaming console is generally speaking just for gaming, so typically has higher associated like customs dues and whatnot.
You know, like if they're trying to get people who don't want to play on their phone, which you don't want to do for one reason or another, suddenly if you have a device that you can get AAA games, because that's the thing, is most phones don't do AAA games.
How dare you insult Genshin Impact?
Again, we've talked about the real benefit to cloud gaming is to open it up to as many people as possible, because specs don't really matter. Obviously, your internet matters. But if anyone can bring cloud gaming to the world, I actually think it is Tencent, because it's all over China. Like, whereas Microsoft had made the best platform, but they don't have the infrastructure yet to make it mainstream.
I'm going to be curious, is this just a pure hardware play? If this is just a stick to sell that can run a bunch of streaming platforms, that's cool, that's neat. It's not the most ambitious thing. But if Tencent starts really focusing, or even just putting some resources into getting more of their games on the cloud, it just does seem like one of those things where my gut on this is that this is a little bit more of an experiment for one of the world's largest companies, and specifically one of the world's largest gaming companies, to get their foot in the door of streaming. But I don't know how serious it is.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's serious enough that they're partnering with Logitech. They could partner with a much smaller company.
Or they could just make it themselves.
Right, if they wanted this to be like an experiment. The fact that I think they're going with a company like Logitech, I think
have worldwide distribution,
exactly.
Lots of, the supply chain sorted out. Like
I think this is mainly because they're going to treat this the way that Apple or Google does. You might be playing Game Pass on your Tencent device, but Tencent's taking a big cut of whatever you do in microtransactions. I think this is one of those things that, for the most part, just benefits the consumer. Tencent can be charging 90% of the commissions on this, whatever, but as long as it's seamless to the consumer, which...
I don't care. This seems neat.
Yeah.
And I get it that as the president of the Cloud Gaming Association of Federated Gamers Worldwide, Inc., LLC.
We're working on the acronym.
But I'm not quite seeing the vision.
It's very reasonable that you don't see the vision, because all we have in the press release is, hey, we're doing this thing.
We're doing a thing.
Here we can mark my words, and when this actually comes out, you can tell me how wrong I was.
Love it.
I think this thing is going to be like $100. It's going to be as cheap as possible. So
what do you think it is? Do you think stick? Do you think console? Do you think handheld?
I think it's going to be as cheap as possible device.
Okay.
$100, I think, tops. I mean, in the U.S. I mean, obviously, we're talking...
Do you think this actually will see worldwide and or U.S. release?
Yes.
This does...
Yes.
To me, feel maybe like more of a China play.
I think it won't be big in the States.
Yeah.
Because
do you think it'll show up?
I think it'll show up. I think we'll easily be able to get our hands on this and test it out at some point. They're putting all this R&D and manufacturing into it. I think it's a pure play for China.
Yeah.
But
they will trickle it out.
Like, why would you partner with someone like Logitech if you didn't want worldwide distribution?
Look, Matt, these are some bold claims, and there's only one way to find out.
To wait and watch and check out other episodes of This Is, where you could tell me
Matt,
about
to subscribe to This Is. You gotta get some feeling.
Subscribe to This Is.
Matt may have broken the microphone, but what you can do is break the subscribe button, ring-a-ling that ding-a-ling bell, and make sure to stay tuned to This Is, because you know that the second that this thing shows up and is mediocre or cool or whatever, your boy Matt's gonna be like,